Hey guys, welcome back to War Thunder, welcome to another quick guide on the tactics of War Thunder gameplay. This time we're driving out the German 6.7 lineup and a very badly put together 6.7 lineup. I have the Focke-Wulf F8, the Narwhal, the Arado B2, the Tiger SLA Premium and the I-251. However, I'm starting the match off with the Coelian. This was one of the spading processes of SPAs, and this is something I really don't show very often, as the SPA process grinding is extremely boring and extremely, well, nobody wants to do it, really. You know, if you want to do it, maybe some Golden Eagles might help along the way, but I did go through the majority of the SPA grind up on a, as much of a legit way as I possibly could to actually play them, and the endeavor of playing the Coelian was very, very painful, as it has been moved from 7.0, meaning that it can no longer farm from stuff like ZSU-57s, even though the spam has been reduced anyways. The Coelian is not a bad SPA, it just isn't an SPA that you can really reliably use. So the tactic we're using again is called spawn point feeding. We want to get as many spawn points as possible early in the match, and then of course distribute those over the remainder of the match to try to carry the team to victory. We're on Berlin, we've got 3 capture points, which means that I'm going to choose to go for Charlie. Why? Because Charlie is the most protected one from this point of view, and the Coelian being not one of the fastest SPA, it will need a little bit of cover, and hopefully we can get to the capture point in one piece without getting killed. And again, there's a real prefix behind this particular match, and as always, I've told this, spawn feeding, if you want to use SPA for it, if you want to use light tanks, it's fine. I don't mind when people go for the capture point, trying to get the spawn points, or spade a stock vehicle, or they're up-tiering a potato truck. Do it following 2 simple rules, okay? Do not be the first person to enter the capture point if there are more people following behind you. In my case, I was going alone for Charlie, which means I'm unopposed, which means, yes, I will go into Charlie as fast as possible. Number 2, do not do this if you don't have a strong lineup built up. My lineup in this match is very, very weak, and even though I have over 6 vehicles, you'll see that it will very quickly come back to bite me in the arse because I won't have enough vehicles to fully spawn in. It is a tactic that you should be wary about. If your team lets you down, if you're not able to fully support them, or if you let your team down, it will come down to the line to be able to spawn in the vehicles and maintain the match alive. So if you're doing this technique, I really do highly advise that you do have a good lineup built up, as well as a well-structured tactic that you're going to be using to utilize it, because the last thing you want to have is a lot of spawn points, a lot of vehicles you're playing, but not a lot of work to actually show for it. So, we've gotten an assist on a STR V81. We are now trying to shoot through a window at another Centurion. We're indefinitely going to die here, but it doesn't matter. We're trying to tank a little bit of damage. One of the ways if you can farm points, this is especially useful in tank destroyers, something like a Yak Tiger, is by actually getting hit without receiving too much damage. So the more shells that I can tank, the more points I'll be getting, but also in addition, the longer the longer I remain in the capture point, the smaller the time that the tickets are going to start bleeding. Obviously, the enemy now has a 1-to-1 ratio on the capture points. So the planer decided to spawn in immediately from the get-go, and obviously this is my favorite one from this lineup, is the Arado B2. I like to use the 3 500-kilo bombs. These are amazing, and the reason why the Arado is so nice is because it isn't really a dive bomber. It's a frontline bomber, it has a very unique role, but it has no guns. And you don't need them. If ever you find yourself in a position where there's a player on your 6 in an aircraft, what you can do is use the 2-second delay on the bombs to actually effectively kill enemy players. And I think I've killed about 13 players in the Arado that were flying aircraft flying behind me and not being wary of when I was dropping the bombs. Again, the approach here is a little bit important. If you look at the map, you'll see that Bravo has been captured, Alpha is about to be captured, and Charlie is where we have the majority of our players. There's no point going for Charlie or protecting it if there's the majority of the player base. So rather I go for the kind of back line where the enemy is sitting and try to clear out the players that are trying to push into Charlie so that I can alleviate the need of my team going around towards the enemy spawn and rather focusing on Bravo and Alpha on carrying the actual match using that. But I immediately saw that it was not really going our way, and I also couldn't quite get the lead onto the Crusader A Mark II, and it felt a bit of a waste using a 500-kilogram bomb on a light AAA that could get easily killed by a tank and doesn't really pose much of a danger. So instead, I wait for the Typhoon that engaged me to get onto my 6, and what I try to do is try to get the Typhoon to follow me, and then I'm going to bomb the Crusader and maybe get a double kill. I mean, it's worth trying, because at this point, the only other thing I can do is suicide into a capture point and get an easy heavy tank kill. Instead, I'll try to do 2 in 1. Now, to make this work, you need to know what your delay is. For me, it's 2 seconds, and know roughly what the distance of the enemy aircraft should be. Obviously, in ground RB, there's no markers, So judging it and balancing it can be a little bit timing, but obviously with the Typhoon being right behind me and having that delay on means that I can get myself an easy playing kill in an aircraft with no guns. Now, even though that might be impressive and beautiful at the same time, it, however, isn't going to be enough to carry the game. So we have to go back to the airfield, land as fast as possible, and get back onto the battlefield to get another 2 kills. This is where I make my first mistake. I know this is going to sound extreme, but what I should have done here is bailed out. I should have bailed out, respawned a tank, and focused on going for the capture points. But because I'm still flying it, and because the plane is still in one piece, and I know I can land it, I felt it would have been redundant to throw it away. I think players are reluctant to, bail out of the aircraft or deliberately crash it to spawn another one, because it obviously just infuses a lot of kills to your stat card. It doesn't look good, and it doesn't look like something everybody wants to do. But from a perspective of trying to win this match, I maybe should have done it early, and it would have contributed more to my team than my actually going back and landing. Because what I do here is I pretty much almost crash the plane into the ground. And yes, I'm not using landing gear. Something that I've learned over the past few months has been that landing aircraft without landing gear can be up to 3 times faster when it comes to actually the stopping length of the runway. As well as if you're landing props, pushing the aircraft forward to actually flip over onto its back can be a very quick way to stop the plane. This might look funny and gimmicky, but by the time that I would have landed the Arado with the gear down, I will already be up and halfway towards the battlefield, which will account for a lot, because if you look at the ticket bleed, you'll see that time is frankly running out. And once the tickets kind of drop below 1/4, there's no longer time for me to be able to go with a single tank over more than 2 capture points. But by some miracle, and this really baffles me even now looking back at this gameplay that is a couple of weeks old, by the way, Our team had about half the players that the enemies did, and still made a comeback here with going for Alpha, disrupting Charlie, and going after Bravo. So they're kind of making this triple cap attempt very, very bold. However, again, it's not going to be enough. The enemy team has more players, and the more players they have, the more bloody this is going to get. And as I'm approaching, if you just look at the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see that the enemy just had a Firefly that crashed into an IE-251, but there's definitely a Spitfire in the air. I highly advise you always pay attention to the kill feed. The kill feed will provide you with information on not just what's happening, but which vehicles it's happening to and which vehicles it's happening by. So right now I know there's a Griffin Spitfire in the air, and a Griffin Spitfire versus an Arado is a very, very nasty scenario, because if the Griffin knows what he's doing, he could himself, if he has rockets on, effectively kill 8 of our tanks and take me out and take the Focke-Wulf out and take whatever other plane spawns in. So it is in my best interest to keep a slight distance from him, but also again still be active on the battlefield. So, new targets. Approaching Charlie, there's I believe a Stritzvan 81 going in for the capture point. Obviously, we want to deliberately take him out before he can infuse a slight ticket bleed on our end. And the bombs are dropped horribly off. I was trying to lead them forward with the timing delay, and it was a bad idea, which means that I've now wasted 3 bombs and an entire 2 minutes of flying and landing to kill a single tank. But luckily enough, I know that what I've done is I've just prevented the capture of Charlie for about at least 30 to 45 seconds, being that the enemy players have to now go all the way from their spawn to the capture point to be able to get it. So back to the runway, again we're going to land, and again we're going to reutilize the Arado. This is a very, very quick way to do it, but I can slowly start to see a couple of problems. There's a Hellcat, there's a Spitfire, there's a lot of air support, and it's not going to work out, because if they are unopposed, there's no anti-aircraft in the game, well, they can effectively take out as many of our tanks as they want. This is now working in both ways. Same as I'm landing and retaking the capture points, the enemy team can do the same with their aircraft. And then I make another mistake, and I try to go bleeding my speed by dropping the landing gear, which results into the back landing gear dropping and falling away, but the front landing gear staying. So this landing is going to be slightly scuffed. I think the funny part about the Arado, especially the second one at 7.0, is that the aircraft gets speed extremely slowly, but once it has the speed, it doesn't seem to be able to drop it. And when landing jets on some of these ground forces airfields, it's very, very hard to land on this short runway with the landing gear. And you'll see here, this is what a landing would look like, somewhat, if the gear was deployed fully. You can see just how long it's taking compared to the initial landing that we had. So during the entire time that you spent landing and then repairing, by that time that you start repairing, you would have already been in the air in the first scenario. But luckily enough for me, being that I only had the front landing gear out, I still managed to make a somewhat of a decent landing. And again, if you look at the top of the screen, you'll see that the situation on the map is slowly starting to turn into the position of kind of rebalancing it out. We have now a 1-to-1 capture point ratio, Charlie is still unopposed, and tickets are slightly in the advantage of the enemy. This is going to change very, very quickly, and this is the thing about ground forces I love. The scenario of the map changes pace in no time. In air battles, you do have these scenarios where a single player or maybe a squadron of players can turn the game around, but when that happens, it's very hard to make another comeback. Air battles are more of a one-way ticket, really. It's once one team gets the superior advantage or gets the altitude or has the bombers or the ticket bleed, the game tends to go only one way. In ground battles, though, the games tend to drag out until the very last moment. This is why I love the triple game of War Thunder. You have the single cap, which usually tends to go into one favor of one team. You have the dual cap, or I like to call them as spawn caps, because technically they are kind of located in the spawn section, so they're not the most optimal one to play. But really the ideal one, the one that is used on the majority of tournaments, and the one that I can see myself really happily playing every single day, is the triple cap objective, meaning that whichever team can hold more capture points for longer is going to win the match. Being that our team was a little bit not generous enough with the SPA, or at least with the air support, we've now been swarmed by about 4 enemy fighters. So I put my smoke on. I'm trying to make as a deliberate effort of being, well, easily spottable as I'm making my first approach, dropping the first 2 bombs on a tortoise, which is in Charlie. Why do I do this? Well, because I want to prevent the capture of Charlie as soon as possible, and we just managed to do it in the nick of time. This is, again, buying our team time that they require. I think what's most funny is that I just passed below a Lancaster, and the Lancaster just bombed 2 of our players, doing effectively the exact same thing that I'm doing. And this is becoming now a very, very big game of time. The clock is ticking, and we're not so much running out of the time in the actual match, we're running out of time for the capture points to be captured, because as soon as it starts to go one way, it's game over. So drop the bomb as low as possible. I'm being chased by a Spitfire, but the bomb was awfully timed. The M262 was coming in, I couldn't make the actual effort, and so I'm forced to do and continue my baiting. And baiting in this plane is, wow, it's fun. It's maneuverable, it's reactive, it's got recent acceleration, top speed, but then it also happens that it has no armament. So how can I help out the Me-410 that's now engaged by a Griffin Spitfire at point-blank range in a low-altitude turn fight with an Arado? Well, in a bit of a not-so-sportsmanship-like behavior, but frankly, this is a battle game, and I have to do everything in my power to try to help my teammate out. He covered me, and I am going to cover him. Whether this is unsportsmanship-like or not, it's a kill, and I like to count myself a nice Arado Ram as a kill that contributes to the team. At this point, I figured the match is won. Surely we cannot lose. We have 3 capture points, we have plenty of players alive, so I spawn in the Focke-Wulf F8. A 4.7 plane is now being used in a 6.7 matchmaker using the 1,000 kilogram bomb. This plane is an extreme contributor to spawn farming, as that 1,000 kilogram bomb can effectively take out up to 3 tanks if they are in a tight space. But as quickly as we got the capture points, we're about to lose them. If you've been watching this game, I mean, I've been talking about capture points the whole match, but this is really where the fun is. Tactics, timing, when you want to strike, when do you want to go, which tactic, which capture point do you want to focus first? Do you want to go for all 3 at the same time? If the team is well coordinated, I think a well coordinated 3-player squadron should be able to carry the team, carry any match really effectively in a moment. And there we go, Alpha's been taken. Bravo has just been uncapped. That means the enemy now has a massive, massive drain happening. I dropped my 1,000 kilogram bomb on a AAA, pretty much missing completely, but as it is such a giant bomb, it of course does a damage, and then re-engage a Beaufighter Mark 21, an aircraft I have not seen in absolute months. There we go, a quick double kill, and we still have a 1-to-1 ratio. So what do we do now is we're going to re-engage the remaining enemy fighters. We have a Griffin Spitfire that we're on a 6 now. Charlie's being uncaptured, and I can see that the enemy players are really rushing in for all the points. It's starting to go from bad to worse to absolutely horrible. And to make matters worse, I'm now being re-engaged by another player on my 6, whilst turn fighting a Griffin Spitfire in a Focke-Wulf. If there's something you can do wrong at this point, I am absolutely doing it. But I have to do it, I have to give it a try, I make a perfect reversal, and still the guns don't quite go on target. Unlucky as it is, the 262 in front of me can really do little but to watch. And as the Griffin gets back on my 6, we're now at low altitude, I can use my throttle, but I've ripped my flaps off. I make another pass, wasn't quite on target, and obviously unable to really pull out, so I'm forced to crash into the house. And at this game, if you look at the top of the screen, we've now lost all the capture points. This is how quickly the game changes. One plane spawn and the entire game has just swooped into the huge favor of the enemy team. And as I spawned in the IO251, it felt like I spawned into a match where everybody on my team was slowly but surely dying and leaving the game. I mean, we have a Verbal Wind and a Kugelblitz on Alpha, and we have a Panther A. That means we have a 7.0 SPA, a 4.7 or a 3.7 SPA, and a 6.0 medium tank. And they're all doing the best that they can. However, it just won't be quite enough. The enemy now has a Comet, the Charioteer. We just lost everything that existed and could have been used perhaps for pushing this match forward into a victory in a matter of a couple of minutes. So, what now? Well, the I-251 I'm driving here is one of the recently controversial tanks, and for a good reason. I mean, heat FS at 6.7, I don't like it. I'll be honest, I think the I-251 is more suited for an 8.0 matchmaker, as the Leo is, than a 6.7, and as such, I have no clue how to use it. I don't feel comfortable using light tanks with heat FS at a battle rating of 6.7 if it isn't something found in the American tech tree. And as such, I make an attempt to kill a Comet, which is a, 4.7, 5.3 tank, absolutely butchering it, and he comes in for probably the easiest kill he'll ever get on an RU-251. At this point, I've given up. I mean, I've run out of all the vehicles I can spawn in, to be honest. There's just not much that I can do. King Tiger. Alright, this is what we've got left. We have a premium King Tiger left to go and carry the remainder of the capture points. And we're running out of time with only 8 minutes left on the clock. I'm not a fan of the King Tiger in late games. I think the King Tiger is fantastic if you spawn it in early and, you know, hold the capture point, don't move, slowly push into the enemy spawn and really secure the win. At the moment, though, this is the last vehicle that I want to be driving out, but it's the only tank I've got left, and if I want to win the match, I have to take a tank because we have to spawn. So, you know, I felt bad for spawning the I-251 before I spawned this in, but again, I'm not comfortable with the I-251 at 6.7. I think the tank is better suited for 8.0. At this point, if I had a Leo, I wouldn't feel comfortable spawning it either. So, how are we going to do it? Well, a King Tiger is still a fantastic vehicle. Obviously, you got the long 88, you have a great armor, you have reasonable top speed, but not the best of maneuverabilities. I'm escorted by a Ostwind and a Tiger H1. This match is in scraps. This is what the remainder of the team is looking like. It's, you know, as the same way that I'm spawning the last vehicle that I possibly want to play right now, the same is being done by my team. The tickets are bleeding. This is looking absolutely morbid. The planes are still up in the air. And we have a triple capture point to protect against. To do this effectively, we have to not die, get into at least one of the capture points, and hope that my teammates get at least to one of the capture points. If that doesn't happen, we've done. The first target I get is a Carnarvon that luckily enough was pushing out of Bravo that just captured it, which means that I not just taken out an opponent that was in Bravo, but I've cleared it out and I know that there's nobody else waiting. Now, if I know that Bravo is clear, and I know that the Osman is trying to move into Alpha, he's just been hit by something, he's obviously repairing, I'm paying my attention to the left-hand side of the map. This is where I have to trust the Tiger that is now capturing Charlie not to die, or at least spot anything that could be going from that direction. It's impossible at this point to predict where we could be getting striked from. But again, ticket bleed is not our friend right now, and we have to move into Bravo before this goes the wrong way. Tiger H1 is almost captured Charlie, so I've taken over Bravo, which means the ticket bleed should stop any second as soon as Charlie is captured. This is going to be down to the nick of time. Even the Osman is now pushed forward, and I have to say massive respect to my friendly team here. Even though they were driving vehicles that I didn't think could do this at this given point in time, they've pushed in. The Panther A, the Oswin, the Tiger H have done their best endeavor to carry this match towards the very last moments of it, and I was absolutely blown away by just how effectively they're able to do it. This match has been full of, you know, pretty much double reversal in caps when it comes to triple capture points, and still, the game is not 100% over. The Tiger is now holding the capture point. I know that the Air 4202 or whatever it is has been taken out. I see a Tortoise pushing towards the point, so I just take a quick little shot at the back of it, take it out. And effectively, this is the end of the match for the enemy team. I mean, this is what matches should be like. This is why triple capture points work. This is why 6.7 German is such a good lineup, even though what I was using effectively in this match was the worst lineup. And if you showed the remainder of this game, or at least the last 5 minutes, to any player in the game, could they be able to guess that the start of this match was played entirely by a Coelian? See, that is the trick of the spawn mechanic. That is why spawn points and spawn feeding and spawn acquiring and knowing what's happening in the battlefield and constantly paying attention is such an important factor of the game. The enemy team, having a Avenger, now pushes into Charlie, taking out the Tiger H1. Seeing that the planes are still in the air, I'm being a little bit cautious, but I figured out that none of the actual aircraft have any more rockets or armament. This is what happens when you spawn too many fighters in, which means that reliably, the enemy team can now no longer carry the game. And seeing that Charlie's being taken out, I didn't really feel too needing to push into it, but I spot the side of the Avenger. I think he knew where I was. I was pretty sure that if he does get a shot in me, kills me, he could progress through to Bravo to be a little bit annoying. So I spot him, give him a shot in, and prevent even Charlie from being able to be captured. And then one last remaining player of the enemy team, he's on the ground, driving in the Crusader, tries to push into the capture point, just managed to get his transmission in time, as he does actually drive into Alpha to prevent the capture point, but as he doesn't capture it, the game is 100% over as the tickets have bled out in the very last final moments. I think we're now, 3.5 minutes from what would have been the end of the match, and I have to say this was one of the most amazing games I've played, not from the kill perspective of the amount of times I've died or spawned in, or from the fact that I started in the Coelian and got an air kill in the Arado and landed it 3 times. It was the team. It was the both teams that made this happen, because the remainder of the player base, I think the last 5 players in both teams were doing their best to carry the game. And this is what matches could be like if, of course, lineups were built and the correct battle rings were used and people knew when to spawn what, and there was a lot of coordination between the teams. So whilst this was an absolute, nerve-wracking game to play, it was a blast looking at the result at the end, and obviously look at the actual rewards themselves. 144,000 lions and almost 9,000 researchable RP. This is what matches can be if players use good built lineups and communicate and react to what's happening on the actual battlefield. The amount of capture points throughout this match was amazing. The amount of team endeavor was amazing, and I think that a massive shout out goes out to any of the top players on both teams. Anyway, that is it from me. Hope you enjoy a bit of a longer video. This really was a 22-minute lengthening match with a lot of things to be covered. But if you want more of an in-depth view or more of the tactics that happen behind the matches that we play, do let me know in the comment section below. And I'm going to catch you in the next one.